Okay, I'm here with the legendary Flying Camel. We're going to talk about your gear, Arnon. Okay,
Ready.
fins. Give us a size, in relation to your board size and fin size that go with.
So I'm on a 97 liter board, my 97 Dark Horse, and I'm running a 32 fin. That's what fits most conditions here in Fuerteventura. 32. I think most of the guys are on this size.
And your
That's it.
medium board, what would you run on that?
My medium board, I'm gonna go with a 36, especially here, because when we go on medium boards, it's already maxed. Like really, we hardly go on medium boards here. So I'm gonna go with a relatively small fin, which is a 36. Like normally with the medium board would be 38, 37, but here at 36. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you decide the rake of the fin? How did you come to when you're testing and tuning up, how do you choose those size fins, that rate, what kind of rate do you have, etc.?
So basically, like I'm using Z fins, and then we do 3 different size rakes. So with a bigger fin, like 46, 48 and down to 42, it would be a straighter rake, because obviously we sail in lighter winds, and then you want to have, when you have a straighter rake, you have more rail in the water, and you get more power using that rail. And then here in Fuerteventura, the fins, the smaller fins, I usually have like more rake, which gives the boat kind of a free feeling, a little bit less rail in the water, but more kind of a smooth ride. It puts the boat, the nose of the boat a little bit higher, and that's a smoother ride here in Fuerteventura in the chop. So more rake for the small fins, bigger, like straighter rake for the bigger fins.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, moving on. Foot straps. Your stance, what options do you have? How do you have your foot straps according to over the fin and so on?
So on the stronger winds here in Fuerteventura, I like to have a bit of a wider stance of the foot straps, so the stands are wider, because I don't want my nose to go too high, So I'm standing a little bit more wide. As you can see, people here are adapting the toilet position rather than just like standing straight, so people are really with the ass down, toilet sitting, and I have a problem with that because I'm tall and I have skinny legs, and I kind of like to stand straight. So when the chop hits, I'm kind of like flying away. But so here, from kind of going really backwards like that, you kind of have to go like that.
Yeah, okay.
You need an ass for that.
And what about your feet in the straps? How do you like it? Do you have them loose, tight? How do you work it?
I think everywhere, it's everywhere. I kind of like it the same. Maybe here the back foot straps are a little bit, tiny bit bigger. Like it's a fine line, because if you make it tighter, it's more comfortable, but then it's harder to take out before the jibes. And if you make it too loose, the feet kind of goes too deep, and then like you kind of lose control a little bit.
But you need some of your foot on the rail, obviously. So I mean, how much? Can I have a look at your feet in the strap?
Yeah,
and see?
yeah. Here, you would see that here they're a little bit deeper than normal. Like normally they would be like that, because you don't need so much rail. It's so windy, you don't need so much rail. You kind of want to sail the boat flat here. If you get the rail, you kind of lift off, and you don't want to take off here. It's scary.
And the front foot, is that any different?
No, front foot like kind of like this. I could push it more, but I don't really do it. Sometimes I adjust while sailing, because the front foot here tends to want to come out, when we go in different angles. So, so I have it big enough so I can kind of play with it, and while sailing. Yeah.
And then I guess this all affects the mast base position. Actually, on your boards, it looks like you have quite a long track. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. I wanted to do for my first year a really long track so I can play with it. Sometimes, like this is my smallest board. Like I wanted to go to the depth limit with it. Sometimes there's like 60 knots, and then I want to sail with 7-8 with it, even at light wind. So I put it back. But yeah, I guess the 135 position, the 130 to 135 position is a normal small board from most brands.
Yeah.
And then it depends on the rocker and the V and the bottom shape, of course.
Okay. And then moving on to the sails, downhaul, for a lot of guys, they have no idea how much downhaul to pull on.
Yeah.
What's your rules? How do you work out how much down? You get a new sail, what do you do?
Well, basically, like the Nilpride sails, my sails have a sweet point. So normally in most type of conditions, you run like more or less the same downhole. I think for everybody, well, I cannot say for everybody, but like in Fuerteventura for me, I tend to put a touch more downhole than normal because this place is so powerful. But I guess the general tip that I can say is that just go with your backhand pressure. You don't want to have too much because then you're going to spin out and like you have too much power, and you don't want to have too little because then you're going to be overshooting. So the downhole settings is basically how perfect is your backhand feeling. When you feel neutral and nice, so when you can put some gas when you need to, but you're not like too much, that's when you know you have the right downhole.
Thank you. Perfect. And then let's move on to the boom heights and stuff. Are you a high boom, a low boom? Do you move the boom? What do you do with the boom?
Yeah, I move the boom all the time. I mean, if there's a lot of chop and strong winds, I put the boom lower. Also, we talked about the toilet position before, and then when the wind gets lighter, I put it as high as I can. I always use my boom as high as I can while I have control. I have less control, I put it a little bit down. Then I check again. Still less control, put it a little bit more down. I don't even care, it can be at my balls, but if I have control and that's, have enough power, I have it. Or it can be super high and then, yeah.
And I guess that affects harness lines. Your harness lines look really long. Are you on a seat harness or waist harness, or what do you do with the harness line length? They adapt as well?
I think most of the guys' harness lines here in Fuerteventura are super long. Again, the toilet position, if you have them short, you're standing too tall here for the strong winds. So I have long harness lines. I use a waist harness. Most of the guys use a waist harness, so kind of a combo of a high hook harness, because this gives you control, a lot of control, and like it gives you at least like 5 knots more control than the seat harness, which puts the rail in the water. Basically, when you sit more and the hook is lower, you have more rail on the board, and then you have more power. When the hook is higher, you kind of feather around, you don't have so much rail, and then it's best for the strong winds. Most people even adapt in the light wind to this. So the waist is the more common harness, and it looks cooler. Nobody wants those stripes in the ass.
For sure. And obviously everyone has an adjustable outhaul these days. What do you do? Do you play with it in a race, or do you just have it there to change it? What do the changes do? Why do you change it?
Okay, adjustable outhaul in slalom race, sailing, like rarely use it while during the race. The race is too fast. Unlike course racing, but you use it all the time. So you adjust it just before the start according to the wind, and then and according to the sails. Sometimes my sails like are faster when it's tight. Sometimes you want to release it a little bit more depending on the course. Here the course is really broad, so sometimes I like to a little bit release it because it makes kind of a spinnaker effect and shoots me downwind. So yeah, it's a really, really nice tool, and we use it, but not so much during the race itself, just before and after.
And what does flattening the sail off do?
Flattening the sail makes you point a little bit better, makes the sail feel a little bit softer because it pulls on the mast, and then, yeah, that's what it does.
Perfect. Okay, and then final couple of things, masts and battens. We'll do masts first. I mean, do you have a massive collection? Do you use stiff ones? Do you use soft ones? Do you change it depending on the place?
Yeah, so mast is a huge factor, obviously. For the rig, it's like the spine of a human being. It can screw up your rig completely, or it can make it really sweet. Yeah, I have a collection of masts. All the top guys here, or even like everybody knows that you cannot do with one mast per sail. They break, they bend a little bit different. So yeah, lots of masts. Yeah, and choosing the best ones.
And battens, again, it's a kind of a fine-tune thing I've heard. But do you tune with them? What's the verdict? Do you always make some changes? How do you work battens?
So battens of my particular sails, the Nilpride sails, like you kind of you roll and go. They are really optimized because we are testing them, before putting out the sails. We are doing a lot of batten testing, and the sail is normally very optimized. I tend to fine-tune very, very little with the battens. Sometimes I add some carbon in very strong winds, to get a little bit of acceleration, a little bit control, but this year's my sails are so optimized that I don't need to touch them much. In general, you can play with the drafts, of the battens. You can make a longer tip, you can make a short tip. Longer tip would obviously make the sail fuller in the front, shorter tip make it fuller in the middle, you know, like you can make different kind of tubes, so the guys are playing with it, and yeah, it's another nice game. Yes.
Perfect, man. That's it, really. Thank you very much.
There we go, Arnon Dagan with his tuning tips and some solid advice there, I reckon. Arnon has been around for a fair few years and like I said, some real solid advice and tuning tips. We've got more coming. We've got, I think, Ross Williams in the pipeline, maybe Tatty Franz is coming on, and we're delving through the archives from Furta last year. So I think it's super interesting anyway. Obviously no PWA events at the moment and no big gatherings, so we can't really get any new footage. But I think this is very, very relevant to a lot of riders out there, and I hope you picked up something interesting. Obviously, you can click on other riders that we've done before. I think Marco Lang, maybe Matteo Iachino's, a few others around and about. But stay tuned to the channel, subscribe, and if you want to become a member, you will be helping us out big time. Cheers, guys, and like I say, stay safe, stay isolated.